I wasn't supposed to see her that night. But I did. And when I stepped out of my truck, when I saw the spray paint dripping down the side of my charity van, when I saw her holding the can, my whole body froze. She smiled. That slow suburban smile. The one that says she thinks she owns the whole neighborhood. And right then, before she even opened her mouth, I knew something deeper was going on. Because she didn't just vandalize a truck. She vandalized the only thing keeping my community fed. And when I found what she hid behind the fence, everything changed. You think HOAs only give fines? No. Sometimes they go much, much darker. And what I found next even scared me. A public health inspector. Hey everyone, welcome back to HOA Stories. I'm Jake. I live in a small suburban community on the edge of the city. I work as a public health inspector. And I run a small charity food truck that feeds low-income families on weekends. If you hate HOA power trips, if you've ever dealt with petty rules or corrupt board members, smash that subscribe button. And drop a big Boo HOA in the comments. And hey, share this story with anyone who ever had an HOA nightmare. Because what happened next was wild. Alright, let's get into it. I still remember the day everything started. It was a hot Wednesday afternoon. The kind of heat that melts your patience. The kind that makes even the nice neighbors lose their mind. I had just finished my inspection work across town. My phone was buzzing non-stop. But I ignored it. I was exhausted. I smelled like disinfectant and old restaurant grease. And all I wanted was to go home. Sit on my porch. And breathe. But when I turned onto my street, I noticed something strange. Kids were standing at the sidewalk. Pointing. Whispering. Backing away from something at the end of the cul-de-sac. And at first I thought, maybe an accident. Maybe an animal. Maybe a broken sprinkler. Something normal. But then I saw the color. Bright red. Fresh. Wet. And my heart dropped. Because the only red thing on this street was supposed to be the tomatoes inside my food truck. Not the paint outside it. I slammed my brakes. Jumped out. And for a second, I couldn't even breathe. My charity food truck. The truck I bought by selling my motorcycle. The truck I used every Saturday to give food to families who had nothing. Was covered in giant uneven spray paint letters. Not HOA approved. Remove this junk. Eyesore trash. The paint was dripping so much. It almost looked like blood. I felt something burn inside my chest. Some mix of anger and disbelief. Some heavy hit that went straight into my ribs. Because this wasn't just vandalism. This was personal. I stepped closer. Touched the wet paint with my thumb. And the smell hit me. A sharp chemical punch. Fresh. Still warm. Whoever did this. Did it minutes ago? Not hours. I turned slowly. Scanning the street. Looking for someone running. Someone watching. Someone hiding behind a hedge. But everyone looked confused. Shocked. Even scared. Except one person. Karen. HOA Karen. Real name, Beverly. But no one, not even her husband, called her that. She stood near her mailbox. Arms folded. Perfect hair unmoving. Sunglasses reflecting the entire street. Like she owned it. And when our eyes met, she didn't look surprised. She didn't look sorry. She didn't even look confused. She looked entertained. Like she was watching her favorite TV show. And I was the villain getting what I deserved. I walked toward her. Slow. Controlled. Every step heavier than the last. Did you see who did this? I asked. She didn't blink. Didn't move. Didn't breathe. Then she tilted her head. Gave that half smile. That tight HOA smile. The one that means, I know something you don't. Oh, Jake, she said softly. Maybe if you followed the rules, things like this wouldn't happen. My jaw locked. I felt my hands clench. But I forced myself to stay calm. I'm a public health inspector. I deal with angry business owners all the time. People screaming. People threatening. People throwing things. But this was different. This was my home. My street. My neighbors. My charity. What rule did I break? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She raised her eyebrows, as if she couldn't believe I was asking. You're parked in view of the cul-de-sac, she said slowly. Commercial vehicles violate the aesthetic standard. Section 4B. Page 19. Line 3-inch. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was insane. This is a charity truck, I said. It feeds families. She held up her hand. A perfect HOA stop sign. Charity or not, she said. The rule is the rule. And rules keep communities safe. Safe. That word hit me. Because nothing about this felt safe. I stepped closer. So you're telling me you don't know who did this? She shrugged. But not an innocent shrug. A smug shrug. A shrug full of secrets. People don't like eyesores, Jake. You can't expect the neighborhood to tolerate a big metal box forever. Somebody finally snapped. That's all. She turned to walk away. But I noticed something. A tiny red smudge. On her wrist. Spray paint. Fresh. Wet. The exact same shade as the one on my truck. My stomach twisted. A cold shiver ran down my back. My instincts screamed. My mind screamed louder. But she didn't even hide it. She didn't wipe it. She didn't flinch. Because she wanted me to see it. She wanted me to know. She wanted to get caught. That's what scared me the most. Not the vandalism. Not the spray paint. Not the HOA rules. But the confidence. The pride. The pure, glowing satisfaction on her face. Like destroying my charity truck was only step one. I took a breath. And I made the biggest mistake of the day. I said, Karen, if you did this. She spun around. Fast. Like a snake striking. If I did it, she whispered. Her voice trembling with fake offense. Then she leaned in. Too close. Way too close. Prove it. And she walked away. Leaving her words hanging in the air. Like poison. I stood there. My hands shaking. My heart racing. My mind spinning. Because I realized something terrifying. This wasn't just about the truck. This wasn't about rules. Or paint. Or parking violations. Karen was hiding something. Something big. Something dangerous. Something she didn't want a public health inspector anywhere near. And I had no idea what was coming next. But I wasn't the only one watching her that day. Someone else saw what she did. Someone I never expected. And their secret changed everything. But let me ask you. If you came home and found your charity food truck vandalized, what would you do first? I stood there staring at my ruined food truck. But my mind was stuck on something else. Something that didn't feel right. Something that crawled under my skin and wouldn't let go. Karen's confidence. It wasn't normal. It wasn't defensive. It wasn't even bold. It was rehearsed. Like she already expected me to confront her. Like she wanted me to ask. Like she was daring me to push her. And that tiny red smear on her wrist. That wasn't an accident. That wasn't paint she forgot to wash. That was a message. A threat. A flex. A warning. But what really twisted everything was what happened next. I heard footsteps. Soft, fast, nervous. Coming from behind the tall hedge near my mailbox. Then a small voice whispered. "Jake, don't say anything right now. Just come over here, quick." I turned. And my eyes widened. It was Mrs. Patterson. My quiet neighbor. The widow who baked banana bread every Sunday. The woman who apologized when her flowers smelled too strong. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes were wide. Her whole face was pale like milk. And that scared me more than the vandalism. Because Mrs. Patterson never looked scared. Not once. Not ever. I walked toward her slowly. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Did you see what happened?" She looked around. Left. Right. Behind her. Like the bushes had ears. Then she leaned in close and whispered. "Jake, you need to be very careful with that woman. Karen, she's not just angry. She's involved in something. Something she doesn't want you to discover." My throat tightened. "What do you mean? What is she involved in?" She swallowed hard. Clutched her cardigan. And whispered even softer. "She has been meeting people late at night. Strangers. Not from this neighborhood. They go behind her fence. And I hear things. Things that sound like machines. Or chemicals. Or I don't even know. Something is wrong. Very wrong. And you being a health inspector. She thinks you might expose her." I felt a cold punch inside my chest. Because suddenly, everything made sense. The confidence. The threat. The spray paint. The smirk. The way she said prove it. She didn't vandalize my truck because she hated charity. She vandalized it because she wanted to send a message. A message that said, "Stay away. Don't inspect. Don't ask questions. Don't get involved." Mrs. Patterson gripped my arm. Hard. "Jake, listen to me. Whatever she's hiding. People have disappeared for less." That last sentence hit me like a brick. "Disappeared?" I whispered. She looked down. Her voice shaking. "You remember the yard worker? The young boy who trimmed the hedges every week? The one who accidentally knocked her garden gnome over?" I nodded. I remembered him. He was polite. Always smiling. "He went behind her fence one night," she whispered. "And the next morning. He never came back." My whole body froze. I didn't know if she was exaggerating. Or terrified. Or telling the whole truth. But her fear was real. Her trembling was real. And the way she looked at Karen. Like Karen wasn't a neighbor. But a wolf. That was real too. "Did you tell anyone?" I asked. She shook her head fast. "No. No, no, no. You don't understand. The HOA listens to her. They protect her. They fear her. She has influence. Connections. People who owe her. People who follow her. People who keep her secrets." I felt my stomach twist. Because now I understood something deeper. Something darker. Karen wasn't just a control freak. Or a rule enforcer. Or a petty suburban tyrant. She was dangerous. I took a slow breath, trying to calm the storm in my head. Mrs. Patterson, thank you. But I need to see this myself. I need to know what she's hiding. I'm not backing down. She grabbed my arm even tighter. Jake, don't go near her fence. Don't go near that place. I'm begging you. She will destroy you. Just like she destroyed your truck. Her eyes were filling with tears. Real fear. Pure fear. And that's when I realized. This wasn't just HOA drama. This was something people were scared to talk about. Something that made grown adults tremble. Before I could say anything, Karen's voice suddenly cut through the street. Sharp. Cold. Loud. Well, isn't this adorable? Neighborhood gossip hour. We both turned. And there she was. Standing at the end of her driveway. Arms folded. Chest up. Head tilted. Smile poisonous. She had heard everything. Or at least enough. Mrs. Patterson, Karen said sweetly. Almost too sweet. You know the HOA rules. No loitering. No private meetings. No whispering that may disturb the harmony of the neighborhood. Her smile stayed. But her eyes. Her eyes were full of fire. Unless, she said slowly. You want another violation notice. Like last time. Mrs. Patterson stepped back. Her face drained. She didn't even look at me. She just whispered. I'm sorry, Jake. I can't be part of this. And she hurried away. Almost running. I watched her disappear into her house. And something inside me snapped. I turned back to Karen. What did you do to her? She shrugged. Oh, you know, Jake. Some people need a little encouragement. To follow the rules. And Patterson is such a lovely woman. Very cooperative. Very obedient. Once she realizes who's in charge. I clenched my jaw. Is this how you run the neighborhood? By threatening people? She laughed softly. Not a real laugh. A cold one. A calculated one. Oh, sweetheart, she said. Threats are for amateurs. I use pressure. Influence. Favors. Fear. And you walking health code manual. You're about to learn exactly how I handle troublemakers. She took one step closer. Then another. Her perfume hitting the air. Sweet. Strong. Smothering. You think your little investigation matters, she whispered. You think anyone will believe you over me? Then she leaned in. Close enough that I could feel her breath on my neck. You have no idea, she said softly. What's behind my fence? A chill went down my spine. Because the way she said it. The way her smile faded. The way her voice lowered. It didn't sound like a threat. It sounded like a promise. She stepped back. Adjusted her blouse. And walked away. As if she owned the whole street. I stood there. Breathing hard. Heart pounding. Mind racing. Because now I knew. This wasn't just about vandalism. This wasn't about HOA rules. This wasn't about my food truck. Karen was hiding something. Something foul. Something illegal. Something dangerous. And if she thought scaring me would stop me. She didn't know me at all. But tell me this. If your neighbor hinted she had a dangerous secret behind her fence, would you try to expose her, or walk away? I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a minute. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Karen smile. That sharp, poisonous smile. The kind that hides secrets in the dark. I kept replaying her words. You have no idea what's behind my fence. Those words crawled through my mind. Like something alive. Something that wouldn't die. By midnight, I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my flashlight, my notebook, and my inspector instincts. And I stepped outside. The neighborhood was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you look over your shoulder. Every 3 seconds. Crickets stopped chirping. The air felt thick. Like the whole cul-de-sac was holding its breath. I walked toward Karen's house. Slow. Careful. My boots barely touching the ground. Her place looked normal from the front. Perfect lawn. Perfect flowers. Perfect porch lights. But perfection in suburbia is always a red flag. I reached the side of her fence. Tall. White. Clean. Too clean. Most fences in the neighborhood had dirt. Scratches. Weather stains. Not hers. Hers looked sterilized. I pressed my hand against it. And immediately felt warmth. A weird kind of warmth. Like heat was coming from the other side. That was impossible. Fences don't heat themselves. I leaned closer. And that's when I smelled it. Chemicals. Strong ones. The kind used in unsupervised storage. The kind that would shut down a business if I found them. The kind that should never be near homes. Or families. Or kids. My heart started pounding. Fast. Hard. Loud. So I followed the fence. Step by step. Listening for anything. Any clue. And then I heard it. A hum. Low. Mechanical. Steady. Almost like a generator. Or a machine. Running underground. What the hell was she hiding? What machine runs at midnight? Behind a suburban fence. In an HOA neighborhood. That bans lawnmowers after 6 p.m.? I kept walking. My flashlight off. My breath slow. Then suddenly. A shadow moved. Not mine. Not an animal. Not the wind. A human silhouette. Standing on Karen's back porch. Watching me. Tall. Still. Silent. I froze. Completely. My fingers curled around my flashlight. Ready to swing if I had to. But before I could move, a voice whispered from the darkness. Not loud. Not soft. Just sharp enough to cut into the night. You shouldn't be here, Jake. My blood ran cold. Because it wasn't Karen. It was a man's voice. Deep. Smooth. Cold as ice. I couldn't see his face. Just the outline of his shoulders. His shape. His presence. What are you doing at her house? I asked. My voice low. Trying not to sound scared. He chuckled. Not a friendly chuckle. A chilling one. That's not your concern. I swallowed. Hard. I'm a public health inspector. If something unsafe is happening here. He cut me off. Fast. You need to leave. Now. And forget what you smelled. Forget what you heard. Forget this fence even exists. I felt something heavy in my gut. A warning. A threat. A promise. He took one slow step forward. And the porch light barely touched him. Just enough for me to see. A badge on his belt. But not a police badge. Not a city badge. A private security badge. Black. Unmarked. Expensive. The kind hired by people with money. Power. Secrets. What is she paying you to do? I asked. Trying to keep my voice steady. He tilted his head. You don't want to know. People who want to know usually regret it. My fingers tightened around my flashlight. But he didn't move. Didn't flinch. Didn't break eye contact. Then he said something that made my spine go cold. Don't end up like the boy. My breath caught. My mind spun. The yard worker? I whispered. He smiled. Barely. Just enough to show he meant it. You ask too many questions, Jake. Go home. And stay there. Before you become another story. He stepped back into the shadows. And disappeared behind the porch door. Like he never existed. I stood there. Heart hammering. Legs weak. Mouth dry. Because this wasn't HOA drama anymore. This was dangerous. I turned. Walked fast. Almost ran back to my house. When I reached my driveway, I finally let myself breathe. Deep. Shaky. Uneven. But then I saw something. Something that made my stomach twist again. A note. Stuck to my door. Pressed under a small stone. Just one piece of paper. White. Clean. Folded once. I picked it up. My fingers trembling. I unfolded it slowly. Hoping it was nothing. Hoping it was just a neighbor being kind. But the moment I read the words, my breath stopped. Stop digging. You're next. No name. No signature. Just those 4 words. Simple. Cold. Direct. I looked up. Scanning the street. Every window. Every driveway. Every shadow. Someone had been here. While I was at Karen's fence. Someone had walked right up to my door. Without fear. Without hiding. Without hesitation. And they wanted me to know it. I locked my door. Shut every window. Turned off the lights. And sat at my kitchen table. My mind racing. My hands shaking. My heart pounding. What was Karen hiding? Why did she have private security? Why were chemicals behind her fence? Why was a machine running at midnight? What happened to the yard worker? Why was Mrs. Patterson terrified? And who left the note? I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't just about HOA power. This wasn't about rules. This wasn't about a food truck. This was something else. Bigger. Darker. Hidden right under the perfect suburban lawn. And I was already in too deep. But let me ask you. If you found a note on your door saying you're next, would you call the police or would you keep digging? The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. My nerves were already shot, but my mind was razor sharp. Today was the special HOA hearing. The same one they forgot to notify me about. The same one Karen arranged behind my back. But this time, I wasn't going alone. No, I had something she didn't expect. Power. Facts. And a public position she couldn't bully. I stepped outside with a fresh cup of coffee and froze. Karen was already outside my house. Standing there. Arms crossed. Sunglasses on. Blocking my path. Going somewhere, she asked, her voice dripping with fake authority. I sighed. She really thought this neighborhood was her kingdom. To the HOA meeting, I replied calmly. You remember? The one that was illegally scheduled? Her cheek twitched. That tiny twitch that happens when a liar gets cornered. It's not illegal, she snapped. We simply exercised our right to organize without interference. Interference? Oh, she chose the wrong word. I took a slow step forward, meeting her sunglasses glare. You vandalized my food truck, I said quietly. On camera. In broad daylight. While shouting HOA rules like a lunatic. Her nostrils flared. You can't prove that was me. That video could be edited. AI deepfakes are. Karen, I cut in. You were holding your HOA clipboard in the video. And yelling your own name. She blinked. Hard. Before she could speak, her husband, poor, tired, defeated-looking Tom, peeked out of their front door. Karen, he whispered urgently, the meeting starts in 10 minutes. She whipped around. I know, Tom. He winced and shut the door like a soldier avoiding an incoming missile. I walked past her slowly, deliberately. See you inside, I said without looking back. She didn't reply. But I could feel the fury radiating off her like a broken electric heater. The HOA clubhouse, war zone energy. The clubhouse was already packed. Residents whispering. Board members sitting stiffly. Everyone pretending this was just a normal meeting. But I felt their eyes. Every single one. Half of them knew about the video. The other half had heard Karen's version of the story. Which probably painted me as a dangerous food truck extremist. I took my seat at the front row right where Karen could see me. Then she walked in. Perfectly timed entrance. Clipboard tucked under her arm like a weapon. Her signature I am the law strut in full power mode. The room fell silent. She loved that. Good morning everyone, she said sweetly. Let's begin with the violations committed by our resident. I stood up. Point of order, I said calmly. As per HOA bylaw section 4.3b, a resident must receive written notice 7 days before a hearing, including a detailed explanation of alleged violations. I received nothing. A ripple of whispers spread across the room. Karen's smile twitched. The board decided. The board, I interrupted, cannot skip due process. A board member leaned forward. An older man, gray beard, tired eyes. Someone who'd clearly had enough of Karen's reign. Karen, he said softly, did you give him written notice? She paused. The kind of pause that exposes everything. I notified him verbally, she said, trying to sound confident. A collective gasp. Someone muttered. That's not legal. She snapped. Oh please, half of you don't even read the rules. The board member exhaled sharply. Karen. He is correct. A hearing cannot proceed without written notice. For the first time. Karen panicked. Fine, she stuttered. But we can still address the vandalized food truck. It violated code. I pulled out my phone. Tapped the screen. Turned the volume up. Beep. Playing video file. The TV on the clubhouse wall lit up. And there she was. Karen. Spray paint can in hand. Screaming about HOA standards. Vandalizing my charity food truck like a villain in a budget reality show. The entire room went silent. Her face turned red. Then purple. Then red again. Tom, sitting in the back row, buried his face in his hands like he was watching his marriage collapse in 4K. Finally, someone from the back whispered loudly. Karen, what the hell? Then a woman murmured. She vandalized a charity? Is she insane? Then another. We're gonna be on the news, aren't we? Karen snapped. This is manipulated, she screamed, pointing at the screen. This is fake. This is AI. This is. I calmly raised my finger. That video was recorded, I said, on my official government-issued device, with geotag, timestamp, and chain of custody tracking. Dead silence. Nobody breathed. You could hear a squirrel blinking outside. Karen slowly lowered her finger. Her hands trembled. Her voice cracked. I was trying to protect the neighborhood. No, I replied. You were trying to control it. A board member spoke. In my 14 years here, I have never seen something this disgraceful. Another board member, usually quiet, stood up. Karen, you will step down as HOA president effective immediately pending further investigation. The room erupted. Some clapped. Some gasped. Some simply nodded like justice had finally arrived. Karen looked around, betrayed, cornered, humiliated. I will not step down, she sputtered. I run this place. I built this HOA. Tom stood up. The entire room turned. Even Karen froze. He spoke in a low, shaking voice. Karen, honey, please stop. It was the first time I'd ever seen him talk back. Karen's face fell apart. Something inside her cracked. You, she whispered. You're taking his side? After everything I've done? After everything I've sacrificed? Tom swallowed. I'm tired, Karen, he said softly. I'm tired of the fights, the screaming, the rules, the stress. We moved here for peace, not to run everyone's life. The room was frozen. Karen stared at him. Then at me. Then at the board. Then back at the video on the screen. Her voice broke. This isn't over, she whispered. Then she grabbed her clipboard and stormed out of the clubhouse, slamming the door so hard the wall shook. Everyone turned toward me. The gray-bearded board member asked, would you like to file a formal complaint, son? I exhaled. Oh, I said quietly. You have no idea what I'm about to file. The room collectively leaned forward. Because they could feel it. The tide had shifted. The war wasn't over. It was just beginning. The moment I stepped out of the HOA clubhouse, I felt lighter. Not because Karen had been exposed. Not because the board had finally stood up to her. Not even because the entire neighborhood had seen her true colors. No. I felt lighter because, for the first time, the power balance had shifted. She wasn't the predator anymore. I was. As I walked toward my house, a small group of neighbors approached me. A woman with brown hair said, that video, wow. You handled that better than anyone else would have. A guy in gym clothes added, we've been dealing with her BS for years. Thank you for standing up. Another man whispered, if you ever run for HOA board, you have my vote. I laughed softly. Me? On the HOA board? Interesting idea, but not today. Today, I had bigger plans. Plans Karen could never predict. The official report. I went inside my house, made a cup of strong black coffee, sat at my dining table, and opened my government laptop. And then, I began typing. Not a complaint. Not a statement. Not a neighborhood dispute. No. I was writing something far more powerful. A public health department incident report. The kind that triggers state-level audits, compliance checks, legal inquiries, and mandatory public documentation. Because vandalizing a licensed food service vehicle is not a simple HOA conflict. It's tampering with inspected equipment, defacing a public service unit, and disrupting approved charity operations. All of which fall under Section 12.4 of the State Public Health Code. Meaning? Karen wasn't just dealing with me anymore. She was dealing with the state. And the state doesn't do verbal warnings. I typed calmly, precisely. Every word a nail in her coffin. When I hit submit, a small box appeared. Report received. Case ID, #PH8894. An auditor will be assigned. Perfect. I leaned back and smiled. The war had officially escalated. Karen strikes back again. By evening, something felt strange. Too quiet. Too still. Too unnatural for a neighborhood fueled by drama. Then I heard it. A familiar voice. Hissing. My name. Through the bushes. Through the air. Through clenched teeth. I turned around slowly. Karen stood at the edge of my lawn. No sunglasses. No clipboard. No fake confidence. Just pure rage. You, she whispered, pointing a trembling finger. Ruined my reputation. I shrugged. You did that yourself. She took a step forward. You think filing your little report scares me? I raised an eyebrow. You knew about that fast? I have friends, she spat. People talk. And they warned me. I nodded. Good. Then they should also warn you that tampering with a charity-related public service vehicle qualifies as a Class C. She cut me off. Shut up. Her voice cracked. Hard. You think you can bring me down? You think you can embarrass me in front of the whole neighborhood? You think Tom is going to choose you over me? I blinked. Choose me? Lady, I don't even like you. Nobody does. Including Tom. Her mouth fell open. Her breathing quickened. Her eyes flickered anger mixed with something darker. You're destroying my marriage, she whispered. No, I replied calmly. You did that a long time ago. I'm just holding up the mirror. She stared at me for a long, painful moment. Then her face twisted. You're going to regret this, she said softly. I crossed my arms. Karen, you've said that 4 times already. I'm still waiting. She stormed away. But this time, she wasn't walking like a queen. She was walking like prey. The letter. Around 8 p.m., as I was preparing dinner, I heard a knock. Not the angry banging Karen usually delivered. A soft, hesitant knock. When I opened the door, Tom stood there looking like a man who hadn't slept in days. His eyes were red. His posture slouched. His hands shaking. Hey, I said gently. You okay? He swallowed hard. I wanted to apologize, he said quietly. For everything. For her behavior. For not stopping her sooner. For letting it get this far. I nodded. I appreciate that. He reached into his jacket and handed me an envelope. What's this? I asked. He took a trembling breath. A letter, he whispered. That Karen wrote about you. She planned to give it to the board last week. It's bad. I thought you should see it before she tries anything else. My heart tightened. What kind of letter? His voice broke. The kind that could destroy someone's career. I felt the weight of his words. I slowly opened the envelope and pulled out the papers. My stomach twisted as I read. It wasn't just a complaint. Not just false accusations. Not just HOA exaggerations. It was a fabricated incident report. Multiple lies about my unprofessional conduct. Claims I harassed neighbors. Accusations that I operated an unsafe food service vehicle. And a statement that I threatened HOA members. All written on official HOA letterhead. But the worst part? At the bottom. Karen had forged the signatures of 2 board members. I looked up at Tom. He nodded slowly. She was going to submit it, he whispered. And she told me she didn't care if it cost you your job. I exhaled sharply. This wasn't HOA drama anymore. This was criminal. Forgery. Defamation. False reporting. Real charges. Why are you giving this to me? I asked softly. Tom's eyes filled with tears. Because. I can't watch her destroy another person, he said. She's destroying herself, and I'm done being silent. For the first time since I met him. Tom looked brave. Thank you, I said sincerely. He nodded again, then turned and walked back toward his house. A broken man. Finally choosing to stop breaking others. The phone call. I sat at my table again, reading the forged document over and over. Then I picked up my phone. Dialed a number I rarely used. A direct line. A serious line. After 3 rings, a voice answered. Public Health Enforcement Division, Officer Ramirez speaking. I took a deep breath. This is Inspector David Wells, I said steadily. I need to report a new development, regarding case #PH8894. Ramirez's tone sharpened immediately. What kind of development? I looked at the forged signatures. The lies. The intent. Forgery, I said. False statements. Attempted interference with a state investigation. And harassment. There was a pause. A long one. Then Ramirez replied. Inspector Wells. This just escalated into a criminal-level review. Exactly what I wanted. I hung up slowly. Set the forged document on the table. And whispered. Karen, your war just turned into your downfall. I barely slept after reporting the forged letter. My mind kept replaying the moment Tom handed it to me. His shaking hands. His broken voice. The weight of the truth finally crashing over him. Karen wasn't spiraling. She was falling. But she wasn't going to hit the ground quietly. People like her never do. They drag everyone with them. By morning, my phone buzzed nonstop. Not HOA drama. Not threats. Not neighbors complaining. These were messages from the Public Health Enforcement Team. Updates. Requests. Questions. Pictures. The investigation had officially accelerated. And they were treating it as high priority. Forgery alone was enough to trigger action. But vandalism plus obstruction plus harassment? Karen was standing on the edge of a cliff, and the wind was finally blowing the right direction. The state arrives. Around 10 a.m., I heard engines outside. 3 white vehicles. Official state plates. Badges glinting in the sun. My stomach tightened. This wasn't symbolic. This wasn't a warning. This was real. 2 investigators approached my door. Inspector Wells, the lead one, asked. Yes. We're here to review the forged documentation and update you on our findings. I let them in. We sat at my dining table. I slid the envelope forward, the one Tom had given me. The investigator put on gloves and opened it carefully. His jaw tightened. This is serious, he murmured. Serious enough for charges? I asked. He lifted his eyes. Forgery of signatures belonging to 2 HOA board members, claims of professional misconduct, and intent to submit this to a state agency under false pretenses. Yes. More than enough. I exhaled slowly. He continued. We've also reviewed the footage of her vandalizing your food truck. Combined with this letter, she may be facing penalties beyond HOA consequences. What happens now? I asked quietly. We'll need to conduct interviews, he replied. Her. The board. Witnesses. And her husband. I nodded. He paused. Then leaned back slightly. There's something else, he said. My stomach twitched. What? The investigator pulled out a printed photo. A still frame from security footage. My eyes widened. It was Karen. Standing outside my house. Late at night. Holding something. The investigator lowered his voice. Does this look familiar to you? I blinked hard. It was a can. A red spray paint can. My chest tightened. She came back? I whispered. Yes, he replied. One of your neighbor's security cameras caught her circling your house around 1:17 a.m. He slid the photo toward me. She wasn't just vandalizing your food truck, he said. She was scouting your property. My fingers curled. A shiver crept down my spine. This wasn't HOA drama anymore. It was obsession. The breakdown begins. Around noon, the investigators headed toward Karen's house. I stayed near my window, watching from a safe distance. Karen opened the door. At first, she looked confident. Arms crossed. Chin up. Pretending to be the queen of the cul-de-sac. But when she saw the badges, she froze. Her hand slipped off the doorframe. Her shoulders dropped. Her face drained of color. Then the investigator handed her a clipboard. Paperwork. Statements. Evidence. Her lips moved silently. Reading. Then rereading. Then trembling. I watched her knees weaken. Her hand clutched the door. Her breath hitch. For the first time, Karen looked afraid. Truly afraid. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered the spray paint dripping from my truck. The forged letter. The lies she tried to plant. The neighbors she manipulated. The way she screamed that I ruined her life, while trying to ruin mine. Any sympathy evaporated. The investigators spoke for several minutes before leaving. Karen didn't move. She stayed frozen in the doorway. Like a statue cracked down the middle. Then she did something I didn't expect. She slammed the door. And screamed. A loud, broken, raw scream. The kind that comes from a person realizing their world is collapsing. I stepped back from the window. Because I knew that sound. It wasn't just anger. It was a warning. Karen had reached the stage where logic ends. And chaos begins. Tom's confession. At sunset, someone knocked on my door again. A softer knock. A tired knock. I opened it. Tom. Eyes red. Shoulders sagging. Soul drained. I need to talk, he said. Come in, I replied. He stepped inside and collapsed onto my couch like he'd been carrying a mountain on his back. She's not the woman I married, he said quietly. And for the first time, his voice cracked. She hasn't been okay for years, but she didn't want anyone to know. Not the neighbors. Not the HOA. Not me. She was terrified of looking weak. I stayed silent. He rubbed his face. I tried to stop her last night, he continued. She grabbed the spray paint again, said she was going to finish it, that you deserve to be taught a lesson. I inhaled sharply. She was going to vandalize my house? He nodded slowly. But I stopped her. Took the keys. But she still left. She walked instead. My chest tightened. She walked through the neighborhood at 1 a.m. carrying spray paint? He nodded again. She's unraveling, he whispered. And I don't know how to help her anymore. We sat in silence. He wasn't defending her. He wasn't making excuses. He was a man watching his life crumble. And honestly, it wasn't his fault. Karen created this war. She chose every battle. She crossed every line. But Tom was the one bleeding for it. The message on my porch. After Tom left, I stepped outside to get some air. The night was cold. Still. Too quiet. As I turned toward my porch, I noticed something small lying on the ground. A folded piece of paper. With my name written on it. My pulse kicked up. I picked it up slowly. Unfolded it. And stared. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't a confession. It was just one chilling sentence, written in messy black marker. If I go down, you're coming with me. My fingers tightened. My stomach dropped. This wasn't over. Not even close. So I stepped back inside. Locked the door. And whispered to myself. What is she planning now? The night was heavy. Silent. Thick with tension. Even though the state investigators had left, and Tom had retreated into his own house, I felt it. The storm wasn't over. Karen's words haunted me. If I go down, you're coming with me. I couldn't ignore it. Couldn't pretend everything was fine. Not after she'd walked my street at 1 a.m., spray paint in hand, and forged letters to destroy me. Something had to be done. Preparing for the final move. I spent the entire morning going over every piece of evidence I had. The video of her vandalism. The forged HOA letter. Mrs. Patterson's warnings. The spray paint incident. State investigation notes. Everything lined up. Everything pointed to Karen being completely reckless, malicious, and criminal. But this wasn't just about law enforcement. This was about karma. Justice. The balance of the neighborhood. I decided to make my move. The confrontation. Around noon, I walked deliberately to Karen's house. Every step deliberate, calm, controlled. Not scared. Not hesitant. Not reactive. Karen was on her porch, glaring, pacing like a caged predator. "You again," she hissed. "Are you insane? Haven't you done enough damage?" I held up my phone. The video recording still open. The report with the forged signatures clearly highlighted. And a small printout of the state's initial response. "You've done this to yourself, Karen," I said calmly. "The HOA, your neighbors, and now the state, all see the truth. Every lie. Every threat. Every act of vandalism. Every forged document." Her face twisted. Her fingers clutched the railing. You think this ends with a report? You think you've won? This neighborhood is mine." I shook my head slowly. "No, Karen. You lost the moment you tried to control everyone with fear. The moment you vandalized a charity truck. The moment you lied and threatened people. The moment you thought no one would ever stand up to you." Her jaw dropped. Eyes wide. She stumbled back as if my words physically struck her. She whispered. You think I'm done?" "You're done, Karen," I said firmly. "And if you continue, you won't just lose the HOA, you'll be facing charges. Forgery. Harassment. Vandalism. All documented. All public. All traceable. The neighborhood watches." By now, a few neighbors had gathered. Curiosity. Fear. Relief. Mrs. Patterson appeared at the end of the sidewalk. Her hands clasped, eyes shining with cautious hope. Even a few HOA members peeked through windows, witnessing the moment Karen finally had nowhere to hide. Her screams started, rising, raw and desperate. She pounded her fists against the railing. Spat insults. Threatened me. Threatened the board. Threatened anyone who dared look at her. But no one flinched anymore. She had no allies. The fear she had sown for years had come back to leave her alone. The final twist. Just when I thought she might storm inside and attempt another act of destruction, state investigators appeared. Flashing badges. 2 vehicles. 2 men stepping out, calm, authoritative. Karen Thompson, one of them, asked firmly. Her eyes darted. Her voice faltered. "Yes, what is this about?" "This is regarding criminal complaints of vandalism, forgery, and harassment," the officer said. "You are being taken in for questioning. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say may be used against you in a court of law." Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Her eyes searched for Tom. Her eyes searched for anyone to defend her. But there was no one. She was alone. Finally exposed. Finally accountable. The officers gently, but firmly, escorted her inside the vehicle. The doors slammed. The engine roared. And in that moment, I felt a wave of relief wash over the entire street. Even the trees seemed to sway lighter. The neighbors clapped softly. Some teared up. Some laughed nervously. The tension finally broke. The aftermath. By evening, the street was quiet again. Normal, for the first time in years. Tom came over. "Thank you," he whispered. "I didn't know how to fix it. I couldn't watch her destroy everything." I shook my head. "You didn't destroy anything. You survived. That's what matters." Mrs. Patterson brought over a plate of banana bread. "Just keep doing what you do," she said softly. "Standing up for what's right, even if it's terrifying." The neighborhood slowly started returning to life. Kids playing. Neighbors talking. Even some board members smiled openly. The air was lighter. And though Karen's shadow would linger for months, legal battles, state investigations, whispers of her fury, her reign of terror was over. Reflection. I sat back in my chair that night, thinking about everything that happened. About fear. About power. About manipulation. About justice. HOA drama isn't always just about petty rules. Sometimes it's about people who exploit those rules to dominate others. Sometimes it's about standing up even when it's terrifying. Sometimes it's about letting karma, law, and truth converge to balance the scales. And one thing was certain. Karen lost. Her lies were exposed. Her threats failed. Her neighbors were free. Justice finally came. Ending hook for the audience. And as I closed my door that night, I couldn't help but wonder. If someone like Karen could hide behind an HOA for so long, how many more Karens are out there, controlling, threatening, destroying? Think about it. Because the next time someone tries to intimidate you, you might have to decide. Will you stand up or stay silent?